Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV and the preview of Colchester against Walsall on Saturday. Looking forward to it. To join us to talk about the pre-game, sports journalist of 23 years, followed Colchester United home and away for the Daily Gazette. We welcome John Waldron. Hello, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you, mate. Before we get into the action of our thoughts on the January transfer window and that, Mike Williamson getting sacked for Carlisle. What you thinking about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. He has already been to the JobServe Community Stadium on a couple of occasions this season with different clubs, actually 3 times, I think, twice with MK Dons in the league and then with Carlisle United a few weeks after that, and all of a sudden he's no longer in a job. So it just shows you really the perilous sort of situation that you can find yourself in as a manager. We've had that with Colchester United over the last few years, and you know, a fair few people have come and gone.
Well, if they're going to get rid of him, why didn't they get rid of him at the start of the transfer window rather than he's brought in about 10 of his own players and then he gets fired? So what are those players thinking now? They've come in to play for him and now he's gone. That's like changing football style halfway through a season is madness, isn't it?
It seems bizarre, doesn't it? Because, you know, from an outsider's point of view, you feel that the transfer window is that kind of golden ticket if you're a side sort of struggling against relegation to change things, you know, after sort of February the 1st or whenever it is, then that opportunity goes. So to give the manager that chance to bring his players in and then get rid of him and have someone else come in and have to work with that squad of players, and it takes time for players to settle in as well. Seems a bit strange. And again, at Colchester over the last few years, we've been in a situation that Carlisle are in right now, struggling against relegation, and January has been a crucial window for the U's, and they brought in the players to sort of get them out of trouble in previous years. Fortunately, haven't had to do that this time around so much, but and you know, it just shows you how vital that window can be. So to give that manager the choice of the players to bring in, get those players in and then get rid of him does seem a bit surreal, really.
I don't know whether anything's gone on behind the scenes or something, perhaps. But enough of that. I think Carlisle, with what's gone on there, I think they're going to struggle to stay up now. It certainly seems like they're all at sea. And when I spoke to the Carlisle Bugle at the start of the season, they thought they were going to be challenging to sort of go straight back up. They've got good following, good level of financial support from the American owners. It's all gone wrong for them. But on to Colchester. You were struggling a bit at the start of the season, but you've hit some form. Undefeated in 4, won 3 of the last 4. You're quite happy with the way things are going at the minute, I'd have thought.
Absolutely, yeah. As I said, I think last 3 or 4 seasons, we've been in a situation at this time of the year where Colchester are looking over their shoulders nervously, thinking, you know, we're in another relegation battle. Well, I think they sit 13th place going into this game on Saturday.
Yeah, 13th. Obviously, Danny Cowley, very well respected manager, seems to have got things moving for you. As we stand, 13th, Walsall top, as we know. 37 points against our 59. You've scored 33, conceded 29 to our 54 and 30. So quite a gulf there in points. But Walsall have hit a bit of a rough patch. Obviously, Nathan Lowe being recalled by Stoke didn't help. But we sort of came on and won the game against MK after we'd gone. But then when Jamil Mack got injured, that was a real blow. And we lost that game at Bradford, which Bradford got an excellent home record. So it was going to be a very, very tough game anyway. And then following that up with the only other team that had beat us, we were looking for a double against us pretty much, against Fleetwood. So there were 2 very awkward games. But to lose those 2 games after a record 9 straight wins. Coming off a winning run is always a bit of a kicker, and it's how you respond. So against Salford on Saturday, we were 2-0 down with quarter of an hour to go, and pulled it out the fire with the magic of DJ off the bench. So that was good. I think losing 3 on the bounce would have dented confidence a lot more. We're going to the game against yourselves looking to get back on top of things and get a win back on the road. And Jamil Matt is fit to return, we understand.
That's not good news for Colchester, Simon, because Jamil Matt has been a thorn in the side of the U's over the years for various clubs, including Walsall.
Yeah, but that's it. He's got a similar record, an identical record: 9 goals, 1 assist, exactly the same as your Lyle Taylor. He scored against us at our place, didn't he? Really pleased with him, I guess, aren't you?
Absolutely, he's been a fantastic signing. Yeah, he's 34 now, but he seems to be in a situation where he's very, very happy on and off the pitch at Colchester. He's content, for a player that's played in higher division, sometimes you don't necessarily get that, but he's very glad to be there, and he's enjoying playing under the Cowleys, where actually he started his career under them at Concord Rangers. He got a move to Bournemouth from there, and then went up the divisions, and he's sort of come full circle, and now kind of finishing his career probably at Colchester United. And all of the fans want the club to offer him a new deal, as he's only on a 1-year deal at the moment.
That's it. At 34, it's one of them. It's if they do get an injury, sometimes it sort of takes a bit longer. Has he been totally clear of injuries, has he?
He's had 1 or 2 niggles, but nothing serious, touch wood. He's, unfortunately, there's been players around him that have had longer term ones, but Lyle's been okay. And the Cowleys have managed him very well, actually. They don't play him every single match. They do rest him on the bench if they have a sort of 3 games in a short space of time. Yeah, if they have a sort of Saturday, they'll invariably leave him on the bench. So they've managed him very well. And I think he gives them a lot of positive feedback on his own fitness and how he feels. He's very honest with them as well, so it works both ways, I guess.
That's good. I think Jamil Matt has pretty much been playing every game for Walsall. The sort of EFL trophy games he'd sort of ducked out of and that sort of thing, but because of other injuries and the fitness of other players, it needed him there. Whenever we played in an EFL trophy game, we just didn't look the same without Jamil Matt up front, and we were looking for somebody who could cover for him. And Josh Gordon, Flash as we like to call him, for obvious reasons, he was a sort of cover for him, somebody who'd come on the last 20 minutes of a game to sort of keep the pressure up and that sort of stuff. But I mean, he's got good aerial ability, but he's not that physical strength to hold the ball up. So on the last minute of transfer deadline day, we brought in Ellis Harrison from MK Dons, and he at 31 is a perfect long-term replacement for Jamil Matt. I'm not sure how Jamil Matt's going to continue going forward, but I think with Ellis Harrison and him sharing minutes, I think that's a nice transition. That's a perfect marrying of skills. He's out of contract at the end of the season, as is Jamil Matt. So it could be we take him on board full time at the end of the season. A player that I want to talk about, Sam Tavidi, is a player that Danny Cowley had talked about a lot, and you're wondering whether he was going to leave. But I was checking earlier; he hasn't played since 20th of December. Has he been injured? What's the story with him?
Yeah, he's injured. He won't. I'd be very surprised if he's in the squad on Saturday. He's got a hamstring injury. He sustained it at Crewe in the game at Crewe on the date you just mentioned there, and he's been out ever since. And I think he's back in kind of training, but not full training. So as I say, I'd be very surprised if he was fit. And they've missed him really. They've missed his physicality and strength up front. He's the perfect form for Lyle Taylor. We can play together, but also can play alone as well up there.
Yeah, arguably, you've done better without him, haven't you? Because you're on probably, is it one of the best run of the season so far? That 3 and 4.
Yeah, they've had, in terms of wins, probably in this 4-game kind of period. But before Christmas, they did have a very good run. I think they went 11 unbeaten, and they kept sort of 6 clean sheets in a row, and that was fantastic.
Okay.
And then they slipped up at Swindon on New Year's Day, and then they lost again at home to Accrington, and that was a little bit of a blip, but they've bounced back really well from that, and got a couple of really nice away wins over the last few weeks at Bromley and Tranmere, and then they beat Morecambe in the last home game, which is the kind of game that they've slipped up in. They surprisingly hadn't ever beaten Morecambe at home before since Morecambe came up from non-league, and incredible sort of bogey team situation there, but they actually beat them 1-0, and it's the kind of game where they would often lose it, but they actually got through there. So yeah, I think Danny was probably more pleased with that result than any other.
You think you've got a chance of getting into playoffs? 10 points off at the minute.
Yeah, there's a chance, Simon. I think, they'll always be looking at that and thinking, why not? Let's go for it. They've made, quite a few signings in the window, which will give them a kind of fresh impetus as they go into these last few months of the season. But it's unlikely, I guess, because, there's so many other teams above them, and you'll need to have the sort of form that Walsall have had, I guess, this season to be able to break your way into that top 7 in a condensed 3-month period, which is unlikely, but you never know. I mean, they're playing well at the moment. They've got a settled team. That's one of the key elements for Colchester. They really do. As I say, the only real change you see without injuries into account is Lyle Taylor coming out of the team and then coming back in again, and the rest of the team picks itself almost at the moment, and that's very helpful to them. Actually, thinking back to the game at Walsall earlier in the season, it was 4-0. And it was a bad defeat for Colchester. They were very low after that game. And it wasn't just the result. It was also they'd lost 2 key players to injury in that match, Teddy Bishop and Aurora Edwards. And they were out for quite a while, and they really missed them. And it was, Danny often looked back at that game at Walsall and he saw, that's where it kind of turned a little bit. And we lost it. Yeah, but they bounced back really well since then. And actually, it's no coincidence that Teddy Bishop and Aurora Edwards are back in the team and doing really well. So,
yeah. The looking at the table, Fleetwood are always a team, obviously because they tonked us twice, effectively. They're a team that I think sort of could go on a run and sort of challenge, but they're behind you at the minute. Got a game in hand, but they're a team who'll be looking to go on a run. Swindon are doing really well. So obviously Colchester have sort of picked up and on a decent run as well. So there's always a team that comes late, trying to crash the playoff party, and plenty of games to go as well. So there's every chance. Who's your pick of the players that you've had in on transfer window? Would that be Kyrese Lisby, perhaps, from Brentford?
Yeah, that's an exciting one. I think, as a reporter, as a fan, you always look at the permanent ones, I guess, more than the loans. And Lisby is an exciting player. And of course, there's always that connection with the Lisby name in Colchester United with Kevin Lisby, who did so well in 2 spells of the year. Yeah, he's a fantastic player, and he's so popular still with the fans. And so I think Kyrese is going to have a lot of love and a lot of kind of affection even before he kicks a ball for Colchester. And there's pictures emerged this week of him and his brother, Kyrell, sort of in their Colchester United kits as very young lads when Kevin was playing there, and so there's always that connection there. So I think that's a lovely signing, that one, and hopefully he'll be a good one for them. But a sentimental one as well is Kane Vincent-Young coming back, who was at Colchester for a long time as a young player and did very well, moved to Ipswich Town. Had a few injuries there, and then Wycombe Wanderers got a few injuries there as well, unfortunately. But has come back to Colchester looking to get back and playing regularly, I guess. He's been given a contract until the end of the season, so he'll have something to prove, I guess, as well. So those 2 stand out. But yeah, as you say, they've made quite a few signings and quite a few loan ones as well. So I know the Colchester fans will be interested to see.
Scully coming back as well. He's returned to you.
Yes. Yeah, I think he'll have a point to prove.
Players come back to a previous team for comfort and that sort of thing.
Yes. Well, his first spell earlier in the season wasn't particularly great for him or the club because of injury, and he's had this issue with his ankle where there was some work done to his ankle while I think it was at Portsmouth, and there was some metal work left in around the ankle area that he wasn't aware of, and it was causing him a lot of discomfort, not only in his ankle but also sort of upper body, hip area and knee area.
Yeah.
And he was wondering why he wasn't feeling great, and they checked it out, and they realised he had this sort of metal work still sort of floating around. So they've operated on it. He's back
in there.
Yeah, he's. I mean, he couldn't really make it up. I feel sorry for him because, you know, as a professional footballer, you really, you know, you could do without that sort of thing. It's hard enough anyway, making your name, isn't it? But so he's back now. He's not quite fit, I don't think, but he's certainly near to that. And he, you know, I think Danny Cowley really thinks very highly of him, and I think he feels that, you know, he's out of contract at Portsmouth in the summer, so, you know, they're hoping that if he can do well for Colchester, they'll have kind of first pick on him when he becomes a free agent.
Excellent. Yeah. For Walsall, obviously a bit of a stumbling block with 2 defeats and a draw after the superb run we've been on. The fact that we've got such a lead brings a different kind of pressure, I think. Everybody wants to beat top of the league is a clear thing that we're sort of aware of. But equally for Walsall, when you've been sort of like 15 points clear, and then that drops down to 9 and then down to 7, it's sort of the fear creeps in that sort of your lead's leaving you. So that's a difficult one to balance mentally, isn't it? That you've got that.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a while since Colchester have been in a position anywhere near that, like that at the top, Simon, unfortunately. But yeah,
it's definitely something you'd rather have than not have. I don't think there's anybody in the league at the moment that would swap position, not want to swap positions with Walsall, because of obviously the position we're in, and it's the pressure. I was particularly pleased with the transfer window bringing in Ellis Harrison, because it is a very young team. We are light on experience. I know we've got Jammer and Albert Adoma, who are good and around there. The stability of Donovan Daniels at centre half, that's been a miss in some respects.
Yeah.
The players at the back have been awesome and contributed to more clean sheets than we've had for a long time. Even at this, we've had more clean sheets this season than we had the whole of last season. We've still got sort of 18 games to go.
Wow.
And that's largely been without Donovan Daniels. And but Donovan Daniels is a very, very good centre half, but troubled with injuries, of course. And Priestley Farquharson, he's another one. When he's fit, he's one of the best centre halves in League Two and probably half of League One. But he's just not played enough games. He's still out, and he's likely not to be available until probably March. But I mean, every time we get close to him being available, it's like another month or another 6 weeks. So I'll be surprised if we see him in a shirt at all, and he's out of contract end of the season. And bear in mind, over the 2 years, I think he's played less than 20 games. So I've not checked that stat, but I mean, he hasn't played many. Been good when he's played, but he's just not played enough, and that's the issue. Now, whether this is a problem for Colchester or not, I don't know. But I'm wondering who's going to make the bench for Walsall, because we've got a much stronger squad this season, and we've got players who weren't making the bench already, and there's like 4 or 5. 4 or 5 that aren't going to make the bench. And that's
I think it's a similar situation for Colchester. Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to have the experience and the backup, but then on game day, everybody wants to play, don't they? Or everybody wants to be involved. So to not even be in the match day squad is a bit of a kick in the teeth, really. We had Alfie Chang has joined us on loan from the Blues, Birmingham City. Earlier in the season, we had George Hall, who when he'd had a season out, I think 2 seasons ago, he played like 40 games in the Championship. And I think they turned down an offer of 5 million for him. So that's the kind of prospect he was. But then he missed the whole of last season through injury. And then this season, he's come to us on loan. Looked very delicate to start with. Just got himself into form and has got himself injured again. And then Alfie Chang has come in, and he's got a very similar thing. Played about 17 games the season before, missed the whole of last season, and he's just trying to get back to fitness now. So I think he's one that's likely to be on the bench, maybe coming on last 20 to sort of maintain the intensity of the press across our midfield. But tough one. What's your prediction then for the game? Do you think Colchester will be able to keep going, or is this a bridge too far for him?
It's an interesting game. And I think when we look at the game, at the best got earlier in the season, Walsall were flying then, but Colchester came there in good form then, and I think it was seen as a bit of a sort of barometer of their progress. And of course, we know the result. I think they did well for sort of 40 minutes, if I seem to remember, and then Walsall scored just before half time, and then the second half was one-sided, really, especially with the injuries that Colchester had.
We've done that. We've done that with a lot of teams. We've sort of kept it tight first half, and then second half we've just obliterated teams, just absolutely dominated in a crazy fashion. Obviously, when the last couple of games we haven't been so solid in the first half, and we've sort of trying to pull it back rather than sort of striking from a positive point. It's an interesting one. There's a player, I think, I did ask for a prediction, and I didn't let you get to your prediction. So let's just do that before I want to talk about one more of your players. Go on.
Yeah, I skillfully avoided that question. I think I probably sat on the fence last time, and I'll do the same again, because I'd say that Colchester's form is pretty good at the moment, as you say. They are feeling confident. They're not conceding many goals at all. Defensively, very, very strong, and they're capable of scoring as well. One thing I would say is the pitch isn't great at the community stadium. It's not good for flowing football, shall we say. And Danny Cowley has mentioned it quite a few times over the last few weeks. It's detrimental not only to Colchester but also to the visiting team as well. So that might come into it. I don't know if that might hamper Walsall somewhat. I think I'm going to go for a draw. I mean, it's going to be obviously a very tough game for Colchester, but I feel that they are in a good place right now, and there's plenty of confidence there. They've had a full week to prepare for this game as well, which is a bit of a novelty in League Two at the moment with all of the games that take place. So they a bit of work on the training ground will help. So I think I'll go for 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Okay. The pitch, you say. Are Colchester knocking it long quite often, or are you playing it through the middle?
They haven't really resorted to long ball tactics as such. I mean, they have been known to do that once or twice in games. And when they had Aaron Donnelly there on loan from Forest, he was very good at precise and accurate with his long passes. But he's gone now. He's moved away. He's gone to Dundee. So I don't know if they necessarily got the means to be able to do that accurately. I mean, they will try and play the way they usually do, and that's through Teddy Bishop in midfield and Jack Payne just further up as the number 10. And then they'll get it wide to the Aurora Edwards and Harry Anderson. That's their way of playing. So I think it'll be if they can play football, they will try to. But it's, as I say, it can be detrimental.
Yeah, you've mentioned the player I wanted to talk about, Jack Payne. We've got a lot of time for him. He's a very good player, isn't he? 5 goals, 7 assists. Big player for you.
Yeah, he's excellent. He's probably been my player of the year so far for Colchester, and he has a big influence on every game, really. And there were a few rumours going around on deadline day that Barnsley might be interested in him, and a lot of the Colchester fans were very worried because if they lose Payne, then that would be really damaging to the last few months. Yeah. It would be a massive pain, yeah. But he kind of scratching your head thinking, why did MK Dons let him go in the summer? Because he's clearly a quality player and clearly good enough to play at League Two much higher than that. So why they let him go is kind of beggars belief, really. But their loss is Colchester's gain. He's been fantastic, and he's always involved in the attacks. Yeah,
they made some errors, MK. I think Ellis Harrison coming to Walsall. I don't think that's a strange decision. A lot of the MK fans thought he should have been playing ahead of Scott Hogan. They brought Daniel Horsey in, so that sort of gives them another head. Again, a few eyebrows raised around Ellis Harrison moving on. Jack Payne, when Isaac Hutchinson left us at the end of the season, I'm not sure whether Walsall were looking at Jack Payne, but I'd sort of targeted him as like being a perfect replacement for Isaac Hutchinson. So I don't know whether Walsall had sort of tried to get him. But yeah, he's a player we need to try and get on top of. Our midfield's very tenacious and sort of will be getting at you, sort of getting in your faces and sort of nipping in. And that's George Lakin and Charlie Lakin, rather. I'm going crazy. Charlie Lakin and Jamie Jellis and Ryan Stirk in that midfield three. Sort of very good at closing down. So I'm sure Matt Sadler will be targeting Jack Payne and making sure that we don't give him a free rein, because that's the one. For me, obviously our guy that's sort of doing a lot of the creating is left-sided centre-half Taylor Allen. And as much as we go on with the January transfer window and who Walsall managed to bring in, it's a step forward for Walsall, the fact that we held on to some players like Taylor Allen. So we now, as a left-sided centre-half, there's not many of them about. And for somebody who sort of creates and got a real good left foot, there's obviously lots of questions in there. Danny Johnson is out of contract at the end of the season. A lot of us thought he was going. After he scored his second goal to equalise on Saturday, he put his hands out and then he was waving.
Oh,
so maybe he thought he was going, but he's not. And then, of course, Jamie Jellis. I know Wickham have put some really good bids in for Jamie Jellis, and Walsall have held firm and not let him go. And Harry Williams, of course, who's, if not for the injuries to Donovan Daniels, he probably wouldn't have got such a good run in the team. But, I mean, he has been excellent at the back. Obviously, the last couple of games have been a bit uncomfortable for him, but he has been very solid. Normally. So all in. Go on.
Sorry, I was going to ask you: is Brandon Comley featuring much for Walsall?
Brandon Comley, he's one of the ones that's on the bench. He's only just come back from injury. He did have a cheekbone fracture, so he's wearing a mask. Looks like the Phantom. But he's not been getting on, and he's one. I'm wondering whether he'll get on the bench. On Saturday, he's one of those that might drop out. So on the bench last match we had the keeper, obviously, Albert Adoma, Levi Amanchi, who we've just got from Bromley, Comley, DJ, Oisin McKinty, and Evan Weir, and most of them got on, to be honest. But then we've got Alfie Chang's come in since then, and Ellis Harrison as well. The other guy we've had come in, Darius Lipsink, he's I think he's a bit of a younger guy. I'm not expecting him to make the bench, but I mean Chang and Harrison would really expect to be on the bench. So who's going to miss out on the bench is the big question. We've got Ethan Wheatley, is a young 19-year-old from Manchester United, and when Nathan Lowe went back, it was one of those. It's Matt Sadler had everybody ringing him, can we send our youngsters to you? And he's gone with Ethan Wheatley, who's got a tremendous goal scoring record in Premier League 2 and in the under-18s, but and including sort of winning the treble, under-18s treble last season, but it's his first loan, and he's found it a big transition really into adult football. He's found it a bit of a challenge, and he got substituted on Saturday, and you can see it in his face. He was really down. But I was saying, after being pampered by Manchester United for 10 years probably, and then is into an environment where he's getting knocked around and pushed around, and then he gets substituted, you can understand it's a tough change for him. He'd probably never been substituted before. So
no, it's a huge learning curve.
Pardon?
It's a huge learning curve. We've got Jamie McDonnell on loan from Forest, and he's luckily for Colchester, he's been fantastic. This is his first loan move away from Forest, but he's been a revelation in midfield, and he'll be really important on Saturday actually, because he's very tenacious. He won't give up, wins the ball back and then gives it to Bishop and Payne and people like that. So
yeah, well, I think Wheatley, he's still settling. He's only been with us for sort of about 10 days, so it needs time, doesn't it? It needs time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right then, before we close, I'm going to check the comments, but I want to talk about my book very, very briefly. Gambling Know the Score. I'm going to sort of talk a bit about that because this is a great way for people to support the channel. If they want to buy some of my books, that'd be very nice. I've got a link in the description for this video, and looks like a tough fixture on paper. Can we do it? Says Elliot Bagnall. And Luca is on. Luca came on my channel to talk about Ellis Harrison. So that was good. Yeah, I've got the link in there. So I'll do my little spiel here. Have a listen to this. Perfectly constructed adverts draw people in with dreams of riches in a world already full of temptation. Gambling Know the Score looks at both sides of the gambling world in an easy to understand format. The book explores all avenues of gambling, including the surprising downside of winning. Rather than simply arguing against gambling, it covers the case both for and against to give the reader the information to make an informed choice. You'll like this bit. To vary the title of the 1998 hit by the Tamperer, if you buy this book, your life will be better. How about that?
Well, there you go. No, what more could you want?
It's all good, isn't it? Snaz the Dark Lord is jumping in. I hope Walsall win, but I have a bad feeling about this one. Oh, no, we'll have none of that negativity. I think my prediction is a common one for me. I'm going 2-1 Walsall. I think we'll get back to winning ways. Be interesting though whether Wheatley starts or whether he gets relegated to the bench. So it's possible we might go for Jammer and Harrison up front. I know Harrison's sort of a long-term replacement, perhaps, for Jamil Matt. But the two of them up front would give us very much a good physical presence up front. Will Matt be back is the question. I believe he will be, or I'm hoping so, because we've missed him. Brilliant. John, good luck for the season. And it's nice that things are looking better for you. But
thank you.
We just we don't want to mess it up from here. In other words, Walsall have had such a good season so far. We're just gonna make sure we can keep it going. We've got a February with winnable games. So if we can get back to winning ways and have a good February, then the prize is ever closer.
Yeah.
Does John rate the Danny Cowley with the job he's done? He's just tuned in. What's this? 34 minutes late. How about that? But I bet you're really pleased with Danny Cowley, aren't you?
He's been fantastic, yeah. And I have to be honest, it wasn't great at Colchester before Danny came in. The succession of managers that didn't do particularly well in terms of keeping them sort of away from the relegation zone. But Danny and Nicky have come in and they've stamped their authority on the team, and also there was a real disconnect between the club and the fans before they came in, and they've actually turned that around beautifully. And it should be a really good atmosphere on Saturday, and you'll see the way that the fans are really behind them. And they Danny and Nicky have had a history of really bringing the supporters closer to the club and the players, and they've done that at Colchester United. So yeah, they've been fantastic.
And they've got a history with Colchester, haven't they? Because when Walsall were looking for a manager, people looked at the Cowley brothers, and it was like, they're not going to come to League Two, and then they rock up at Colchester.
Yeah, they've been linked with Colchester a few times before they actually came a year ago, and it never quite happened for whatever reason. But they're both Essex men. They grew up in the county, and they started out at Concord Rangers and then Braintree Town, and they've always had connections with Colchester United. So I think it was either Colchester or Southend at some point, and it ended up being Colchester, which I think Colchester fans are very pleased about.
I bet you are. Right then, thanks very much, John. Cheers. Good luck for the season.
Likewise.
We've had some pain recently, but hopefully the joy's returning on Saturday for us. Much to your detriment, but never mind. Cheers, John. Great to talk to you again. Likewise.
Yeah. Take care.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thanks.